Achieved with CryEngine.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another of George's Corners. This time we are helping to showcase the Maryland campaign of 1862 during its anniversary here. It is currently September 16th, a very lovely Sunday, and we have many members of the community now filling up the servers, helping to showcase and remember this time in our very bloody and unfortunate history. But as we go down this way with one lone flag bearer helping to lead the charge well in front of anybody else here. He's very confident in his flag bearing abilities. The Confederates are here now going after the East Woods, a map that we've showcased several times in the past, but with a full server we'll definitely get to see just how bloody the fights here got to be. Now, yet again, as I've mentioned before, the East Woods skirmish area here is merely but one section of the 4 kilometer by 4 kilometer map of Antietam that we have recreated in as much detail and as historically accurate a detail as possible. But as we go through here, we're going to go ahead and see if we can find the Union lines, which have already somewhat arranged themselves. See that there's a little bit of a line over this way, and we also have a few random ones, including a major portion of the Union lines being ranged behind these fence lines here. But we'll see from what direction the Confederates will be coming in from. Usually they favor going after the Union through the woods to our front here as we're looking over the top of it. Zoom around here. Oh, we can already hear that there's quite a bit of shots going out. And some team kills, so that's fun. And the line that was ranged next to this tree has already been pushed back. And the Confederates... Oh, no, actually it's over here. And this line is about to be torn to smithereens by the advancing Confederates here. But that being said, the rest of the Union line will hopefully try and hold the point here. But already they're getting pushed back by more of those going after the melee. I like my wording. More melee troops actually pushing down the line, forcing the rest to respond in turn. It seems that there is just way more of the Confederates actually grouped up in this position, whereas the Union was much more spread out, much to their detriment. So, currently, the Confederates are taking the point as it stands here. So at this point, the Confederates have taken the flag and have set up some defensive positions in the area around this tree here, with another serpent line helping to cap the point with the majority of their men, as well as some various ranging outliers around the area, and more reinforcements pouring in as we speak, helping to reinforce their positions. So, the Union is now a bit separated out here, and keeping well back and away from the lines, and for some reason holding their positions here without actually trying to advance, along with more beyond. And some elements of other members of the Union are in more skirmish positions, trying to actually defend or attack the point.
Fire!
taking a peek and seeing if they actually did any damage with those shots there. They might very well have, but with the number of Confederates in this region, it doesn't seem that they are doing an effective fire. And it seems that only 3 minutes into the map here, the Confederates will be winning very shortly. And another volley was sent in here. Though yet again it seems that very few casualties has been taken. And with that, the Confederacy is victorious once again, helping to defend against the Union encroaching in the East Woods, with several representations of quite a few guys playing. You can see that we have an almost full server. Actually, oddly enough, more people on the Union side than Confederate side, which is a bit strange considering. And they're fixing bayonets, so they might very well be trying to push off against the others on the other side. So we can see that good amounts of the Union and Confederate sides are arranged here along these fence lines. You can see that there is quite a bit of Union men spaced out all across the battlefield here, which perhaps might not be helping their chances. While at the same time, the Confederates have arranged themselves along the fence and have now pushed themselves back to the stone fence to give themselves a bit better cover. While they attempt to help defend the point against Union attack, who are, as we speak, ranging up this fence line, using its cover to the best they can as they go up the line, trying to get closer and closer to Confederates and have better chances of hitting their targets. And over on this side, the Union line is pushing up through the forest on the far left, the far right of the Confederate line in their perspective. And the sparse Confederate defenders here at this portion are going to have only a certain amount of luck defending here. In fact, they've been completely wiped out, and now have the chance of actually ranking against the majority of the Confederate defenders here on the right flank of the Confederates. And even more of the Union is abandoning their defense positions and actually getting a bit more aggressive against the Confederate line here. And in this battle here, many of the Confederates have the advantage of making good use of representatives of the 1st Virginia Cavalry, who are oftentimes armed with not only their sharp carbines, as well as their revolvers and, in some cases, sabers as well, which gives them quite a bit of versatility on the field. But it seems that the Union might very well have almost been cleared out short of this contingent here. But the battle still rages to an extent. Some of the Confederates down the way there haven't realized that there's still Union men up along the fence line here. And it seems that a large portion of the Union troops have actually also flanked on the left of the Confederate line, yet again from their perspective. And with the sparse Confederate defenders over here, it's really splitting up their abilities to try and hold the field. But currently, the Confederate position is to hold this corner of this tilled field here against the encroaching Union lines that are attempting to go after Nicodemus Hill. Now, during the Battle of Antietam, there were quite a number of Confederate artillery that were ranged across the hill there, and were able to get devastating flanking fire against Union infantry as they went across the Miller cornfield there and were marching down with the Hooker's 1st Corps along the Hagerstown Pike here, able to get very good flanking fire along their lines. And so, in this fictitious scenario, we're representing the possibilities if the Union were to have advanced against the Confederates at Nicodemus Hill, which was primarily only defended by members of Stuart's cavalry behind the hill and close to the Shenandoah River, just past. So getting back to the battle at hand here, we can see that the Union has again come on in force and are perhaps not receiving the benefit of their numbers now as Confederate reinforcements pour in, but already Confederate morale is down to breaking, whereas the Union morale is still at taking losses. So there is a chance that the Union might win via a morale victory here without even taking the point. So one of the things to note about the game of War of Rights, even as a Union line is also right here at the point helping to actually take it, and also having good chances of shooting down Confederate reinforcements as they come across the field. Albeit they have to watch their right because the Confederates have full ability to go around the house. So the Confederates are by their lonesomes spread out, and so with every shot that they take more morale damage than those that are arranged in the lines here in formation. That being said, it seems that the Confederates might have a better advantage in regards to their fighting prowess, at least when it comes to close and personal combat. Now both are now down to breaking, so it remains to the Confederates to try and reduce their casualties as mass reinforcements start to stream down from the hill. And both sides are beginning to no longer make use of that benefit from being in line, starting to be less in formation. That being said, there are quite a few Confederates that are sniping and skirmishing from up the way, and the Union would benefit from having a force that can clear out these random Confederates here along the stone wall. Currently, the Union is taking the point and being more in formation than their Confederate brethren, and in fact are victorious. One of the first times here during the weekend, as so far the Confederates have been able to make better use of their leadership and made better use of tactics. But fortunately, the Union are victorious in this case, in this fictitious scenario, and we shall see what might become of the future here shortly. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we are arranged here along what's known as the Sunken Road, yet another map that we have continually updated throughout its our development, but is one of the earliest maps that we have arranged here. And you can also already see that the Confederates have started to array themselves out in skirmish order with several scouts in various locations, both to the left, center, and right, to help determine where the Union attack might first take place. But the majority of the Confederate line is here helping to defend the point. So if we follow where that rebel man might have gone, there he is, so we can see that he's here hiding out in the cornfield just taking a peek and seeing where the Union is going. So he's going to be relaying information back to his squad later down the line to say that they are coming more from the left. And we'll see if they might be just using the cover. So we can already see down in the chat there that he is relaying some orders and relaying some information, I should say, as to where some of the Union line is going. So we can see that a good portion is heading to the Union right, whereas another large portion is arranged over here, preparing to start going down the center and left. The Union themselves not making use of any forward scouts or skirmishers to try and take out the enemy scouts. So these men are well prepared for whatever direction that the Union might be coming from, thanks to the reconnaissance of their troops, with a holding force helping to protect the far right of the Confederate lines as well. So if we were to go back to the Union lines over here, we can already see that they are beginning to make their arrangement, foregoing the somewhat protection of the road to instead try and make use of the cover of these trees. But very quickly they will see what folly their ideas might bring of mice and men.
Crouch, crouch.
So already they're starting to take some shots from the Confederate line.
Pull back, fall back.
The officer who was leading the line being one of those that fell in that initial volley there. One of the dangers of leading from the front. Whereas the men on the Union side have now arranged themselves along this fence line here at the cornfield. And will soon be trying to advance against the Confederates down the line.
May God be with you all.
What if I'm an atheist?
Lone Scout decided to go out there and then, maybe not. Now in the distance there, that huge plume of smoke is coming from our version of the Mama Farm that you can see here. The current Mama Farm that you see on the Antietam battlefield is actually a recreation that is perhaps not true to the original, whereas this one here is based off of what few records exist of the original Mama Farm and its buildings. But it is an example of one of the only deliberate cases of the Confederates, in this case, deliberately destroying public property, or private property, excuse me, in their efforts to make sure that the Union would not be able to make use of the Mama Farm as a sniping position. And the Mamas attempted to get money back or remunerance for the loss of their property after the war, but didn't have much luck because it was Confederates that did it and not Union. So the government, bit of artillery, so the government denied their request. The Mamas were forced to evacuate their house quickly before the Confederates began to torch it, and then instead went to the Sherrick and the Sherrick farm. There's another farm I'm forgetting the name of. Starts with an N. To try and seek shelter instead.
Shoulder arms, shoulder arms.
So yet again, Chaplain Carroll there is making good use of reconnaissance in order to make sure that the Confederate forces are well aware of what all might be coming their way, but over here on the far Confederate left, we can already see that they are trying to do a far flank around, but they are spread out and might be in a bit of danger because of it. So the Union have started to try and make use of the fence line here. can see that they are trying to get close together and trying to avoid unnecessary casualties as they try and get to the fence. And even more Union men are coming this way, you can see. And actually charging the Confederate lines directly, while the Union forces here try to snipe the reinforcements and snipers in the cornfields. You might say they having a bit of a problem with children of the corn. Da da da! No, just kidding. Thank you and welcome to the George Crecy channel, where we have terrible jokes and terrible references 24/7. Alright. So, currently the Union is making good use of their charge and have actually succeeded in taking the field, but there are yet still more Confederates here on the center with more of their reinforcements coming down from the far right. And some of the Confederates are making use of the cover afforded by the fence line and cornfield here, which the Union is not able to make as good of use of. And more reinforcements are quickly going to be streaming in, trying to help defend against the Union that have now practically taken the field here at the Sunken Lane. All they need to do is just go a little bit farther left. But it seems their numbers are going to be a bit too small to fully achieve that, and now they are spread out and close to the Confederate spawn, so their benefit of that successful charge is quickly going to dissipate as the Confederates start to range back in. So if we were to take a look over here on the far Confederate right, you can see that the Union has carried the field here and is going to be pushing down the way, trying to take out any rebels that are over in this portion. Albeit, at this point, they have all been taken down. So the Union need only start to push their way down to the right to try and help push against the point and try and take it. But we can see that the Confederates have already successfully reinforced and have retaken the point, but are going to be now trying to retake their defensive positions on their flanks as best they can.
They're coming right.
So we can see that the Union reinforcements, now that they have respawned, are going to be coming directly to the fence line and down the field, with the majority of the rebels now going to be pushing back against them, or trying to. But they're going to be quite spread out, whereas the Union is going to be making good use of the fence lines here and are going to be able to make better use of their formation bonuses to their morale. And have already taken significant casualties on the Confederate side. But even more rebels are streaming now to try and retake the fence. And the Union are a little bit low in numbers once again. But more reinforcements are going to be pushing their way as fast as they can. But it seems that that might be a bit too late for those here at the fence. So the Union line has completely collapsed at this point now. And the lone survivor is forced to try and flee unsuccessfully. Union troops are once again engaging on the far right flank of the Confederates, who are now going to be advancing down to push them off possibly as well. peek over this way. We can see that a good portion of the Union line is holding here at the corner of the cornfield, whereas more are going to be continuing to stream to respective destinations. But it seems that the next major engagement is going to be here at this corner of the road of the Sunken Lane, which eventually, as it goes on its way, leads to the Pry Mill just down the way there at the Antietam Creek. And the rebels are holding their position farther up the way. Yet again, like their Union counterparts before, making use of the fence line as best as they can to help defend themselves. But with their attentions diverted to the right, even with this line here at the center at the point, they are perhaps opening themselves up to a massive charge by the Union. Even as a debate over proper voice channels ranges in the chat. Don't mind that, it's fine. It's fine, guys. It's totally historically accurate, don't you know? Excellent. So, another massive Union charge is preparing itself, and will soon be ranging, even as more rebel reinforcements are coming in. So about half of each of their forces are arranged on one side and another. And this poor scout here is attempting to do his best to dodge the bullets in a very comical way. But it does succeed.
You know.
Oh, and it seems that the Union has yet again done a massive charge over to the far left, which the rebels might be a tad slow in responding to, but they have seen it and are now rushing farther to the left to try and defend, yet again using the cornfield to their stealthy advantage. But perhaps not stealthy enough. But the Union are out in the open this time in comparison to last time, where they made better use of the fence line, and so might very well take more casualties than before. The Confederates have already expended all their shots and are now having to spend time reloading, and reinforcements might be a bit late in coming. And this officer just cannot... Nobody can shoot worth their life. Goodness gracious. There he goes. So now the Confederates are down to taking losses in comparison to the Union's engaged. And now they're having to yet again be on the back step as they try and recover from the loss of their main line. And we can see that there is a massive amount of casualties here in the Sunken Lane. From those charging, those being charged. Casualties all around, certainly profound. So the Union is back on the point, but they might not be able to make use of that. They've already had 3 men go down in the intervening period. More going down as the time ranges on. And it's now the Union reinforcements that might be slow in coming to make good use. Rebel officers and NCOs making very good use of their pistols as they retake the place once again. It is like the town of Winchester here as we fighting desperately over the Sunken Lane. And it seems that there is still a good portion of some Union skirmishers here. Some who are a tad slow in realizing their predicament. And have now been taken completely down. And now the Union is once again only able to be arranged here on the far right of the Confederates. And oddly being on the perhaps wrong side of the fence. Oh, short of the few Confederates here that are yet again making use of the cover arranged here. So the air is filled with shot and shell, and smoke billows across the battlefield. Now both sides are down to taking losses. And the Union line is once again arranged here in the center, making their way around to the right-hand side, but having been pushed back by some Confederate skirmishers opportunely set up in various locations. Previously, the Union charges were a bit more coordinated and a bit larger, but now it is a bit more spread out and less coordinated, and so might not be as successful as before. So a massive Union line is over here on the Confederate right. Whereas there are, by the sounds of it, still some Confederates right here, or I might just be completely off my rocker. It sounds about right. But there is still a good-sized contingent of Confederates trying to do a stacked defense. Already their sergeant major has taken the fall here.
Crouch when you need to load, keep your bayonets on. Fire ahead.
Whereas members of the 6th LA, First Lieutenant Moser is trying to do his best to command his men in a numerically disadvantageous situation. So good-sized Union force is now arranged over here on the Confederate right. We'll have ample opportunity to try and range down the field, albeit yet again Confederate skirmishers are going to be making use of the cover available with the cornfield. But it seems that the majority of the Union focus is going to be here at the point itself. Doing a massive charge once again. But already it seems that they're going to be the worse for wear. But Confederates already are down to breaking in this engagement. They are taking a lot more losses in terms of morale damage than the Union are. Albeit in each of these battles, the attackers and defenders each have a pool of quote-unquote morale to work off of. Those on the attacking side tending to have a larger pool than those on the defending side.
Down the fence line.
Push north, guys. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
Let's go.
Down. Take cover, fire, reload, and cover, crouch, and keep moving on.
So the Union is now ranging down the field, trying to take out the Confederates that were previously arranged here at the fence line. Already several losses have been taken on both sides, but in this case, short of the reinforcements now pointing in, it's going to be a more Union advantageous charge here. Even more Union now taking the place of those fallen, continuing to push the increasingly smaller Confederate forces.
That's it, boys. Hey, boys, stay here, man. Keep pushing.
The Confederates are continuing to pull their heads up against the equally stubborn Union forces that are attempting to push against them. And Union forces are having to worry about both attackers in the cornfield as well as those farther down the fence line. So keeping the Confederates on their toes, the Union will continue to push and continue to take the field here perchance. In fact, the Union is victorious once again, having quite the turnaround since yesterday's matches during the Harpers Ferry showcase. The Union is going to, so far, take the field in a 2 out of 3. We shall see if in future the Confederates might win, but we certainly hope that you have enjoyed our representation during the anniversary here of the Battle of Antietam. And we certainly hope that you'll join us once again tomorrow for another edition of George's Corner and this special anniversary edition. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, and have a great rest of your night.